Hi everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus from Threshold of Hineni, and I'm here to talk a little bit about something that I've never seen anybody write about or talk about. I'm sure somebody has, because I can't be the first person who's mentioned this, but and that's mail that you get when somebody dies. And there's some good mail, and I'm going to save that for last because I want to end on a high note. So I'm going to start out with the negative stuff. And it's I have to say it's gotten to where I just totally dread the mail every day when it comes in, and quite often there's some really good stuff in, which I'll share about later, like I said. But there's just so many stresses that come from the mail that you get when you've been widowed, and I kind of assume that it's the same way if a man loses his spouse, but I'm not sure, and probably like if kids lose their parents or something, I don't know. But I just know that for me, and it really seriously may be targeted more towards women because we're more vulnerable. But anyway, so one of the things that comes in the mail that is particularly stressful is bills. And I'm not just talking about, like your regular bills that need to be paid, like your utilities and stuff like that. But just like a whole bunch of bills that you're not sure what to do with because you don't know, first of all, if they're valid or not. You're trying to figure out your finances because, in most families, the man takes care of the finances. That's just kind of traditional. I do know some families where the woman takes care of the finances. And in our case, I'm perfectly capable of taking care of finances. And I have before, and I've done a good job. But I was so exhausted from taking care of them as a single mom that that I asked Bill to take care of the finances. And I probably should have been a little bit more involved, and he didn't hide anything from me or anything, but he just took care of him. And of course our systems are quite different from each other, so I'm still trying to figure out his system, and that's not because his system was bad, it's because it hasn't been the top priority. There have been other things that have been much higher priority, that have been more urgent, and you have a lot of urgent things when somebody dies, and so you can't really take care of the important things. And anyway, so that's so that's part of it. It's like you just get these bills and you don't know what exactly to do with them, and some of those are tons and tons of letters from the IRS. I'm pretty sure that a bunch of them are scams because like they don't have good English on them. So it's like, yeah, okay, somebody in some other country probably is sending this. But they've got some address like in Missouri or something. And to find out whether those are real or not, because it's I don't feel like I can just dismiss them because they have like the right amounts on them and everything, which is just really weird and very alarming. And so you call the IRS and you wait on the phone for hours, literally hours, and finally get somebody. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in a second too. I will say the best day to call is Wednesday because usually you can get through a lot quicker and you can actually get through. Oftentimes what happens when you call the IRS is that you wait for hours and hours and hours on the phone, plug in your phone, be someplace where you can work on your computer or do something else while you're waiting because you don't want to just sit there because it just makes you more and more stressed. But if and they close at 7, and so if they haven't gotten to you by then that's it. They just shut everything down and you lose your spot in line. You start all over the next day. That said, I do want to say that the IRS has been wonderful to work with when you finally do get through to them. And I've discovered that the reason that there's such a long wait is because they actually take their time with you. They don't rush you through things. They talk to you pretty nicely. I mean, I had one agent who, every time that I started to cry, because it was like only a few days since I had lost Bill, because I got this notice in my mail that they were going to like take my house and everything. and, and so I needed to deal with that right away. And it had been literally less than a week since I had lost Bill. And so every once in a while I started to break down and cry, not like screaming, crying or anything, just like, starting to have a little sob. And the agent would go, I'll give you 5 minutes to compose yourself. And she'd put me on hold. And I understand that if you've got somebody who's angry or something like that, but good night. I felt like I was being punished because I was going through this and having to deal with them right off the bat and stuff. And it's like, who wants to deal with the IRS right after, who wants to deal with the IRS at all? I mean, they have such a bad reputation, but I have found that they're good to deal with. They really are. In general, that particular agent, she was good other than that. And she put me on all these timeouts. It's like, seriously, like you're a little kid being punished. It was horrible. But other than that, dealing with the IRS has been really good. They've been very, very helpful, very helpful. Now, they're not like going to forgive your debt or anything like that. They're not going to do that. But they, are fairly reasonable to work with, as reasonable as they can be, which, yeah, I mean, they can only be so reasonable. but they do take their time with you, and they make sure that you understand everything, and they help you walk through things. It's like they'll get you online and they'll tell you exactly what to do with each page that you have to go to and help you figure out what to click and what to choose and all this stuff. And seriously, really wonderful. That takes a lot of time, and that's why your wait is so long. And so once I found that out, once I realized that, okay, the reason I have to wait so long for them is because they're going to take their time with me when they get to me. So they're taking their time with other people, and that's why I'm waiting. It really did help make the wait a lot better. And so, yeah, just plug your phone in so your battery doesn't go out while you're waiting, and be someplace where you can be working on something else. That's the main thing. So the IRS scams that I'm getting is one of the things that's difficult. Another thing is collectors. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, credit card companies and stuff that find out that your husband died. Now they want it all. Bam, right now. It's like, really? My husband just died. I'm in a fog. I'm trying to figure out the finances. I'm trying to figure out everything. And I have one income now to pay almost the same amount of money that we were not getting by on with both of our incomes. And I'm supposed to just pay everything. And it's supposed to come from, in some cases, they're contacting me. In other cases, it's the estate of William Ruckelshaus, which is supposed to make it like so much better. Because like some of them, there's one company that the letter says, we understand that you aren't responsible for this. This is just to come from the estate. Well, the estate is me. The estate is the money that I'm supposed to have so that I can get by while I'm trying to figure things out and adjust things so that I can function. And, so yes, I understand they need their money. I totally understand that. If you run up debt with somebody, you should pay it. I completely understand that. But just don't expect me to pay it all at once, and don't come screaming at me. I feel like carrion, and there's just vultures coming down eating me. It's just horrible. And the thing is too, it's like, and please understand, I am not advising that anybody else do this. Okay. This is not advice. I am just sharing my experience, and I'm sharing how I'm handling it, which isn't always right. But I know that I'm vulnerable, and I know that I'm in a fog. And so I'm not going to do anything major like this right now. I'm just not. And it's like the best way to get a good response from me is to be nice, to be reasonably courteous, and to be compassionate. And I will talk about one company in a moment who is that way. So it's like, the bill collectors and everything. And then there's also people that Bill had made deals with that they think I don't know what those deals were. And I had one particular one who I had been involved in making the deal. But this person now comes to me as if there's a completely different deal, that I'm supposed to do all this other stuff. And I know that that's not true. And even though I know that's not true, and I was able to stand up to them and say, no, this is not what happened, and I was able to cite chapter and verse from the contract and everything, it still is another stress. And it's like, I don't need this stress right now. It's nobody needs it ever, but it's like when you've just lost somebody, you especially don't need it, and it's just particularly cruel. And also, seriously, people, if you're going to try to cheat a widow, that's not the smartest thing to do, because God is the defender of widows. So it's like, you're not just dealing with me here. And then, and then there are just people who try to take advantage of the fact that you're vulnerable. They know that you can't think well. They know that you're in a fog. They know that you're weeping, that you're scared because you don't know what's going to happen or how to deal with things. And so they try to take advantage of you. And, and I wasn't sure if that was just me or if that's a common thing that happens. So I kind of mentioned it, and a number of other widows have said the same thing, that people are just cruel when they know that you've lost someone and they know that you're vulnerable. And so it's hard and it's scary. And then there are the people that I actually don't know what the deal was that Bill had made with them. We had, we were just barely getting by as it was, because of a number of circumstances, and some of which were kind of our fault and some of which weren't, like somebody who used our credit cards without our permission. But it was somebody that we knew, and we didn't want to sue them or anything like that. So I guess that's our fault, because we didn't want to sue. And so anyway, so we weren't making it. And Bill and I were both working very hard. Bill's 78, or was 78, and he was working really hard, not just bringing in a Social Security check, but actually working. And I'm working really, really hard. And, we weren't able to keep our heads above water. And so we contracted an attorney's group to deal with our debt and helping us negotiate with the with the companies and stuff. And they were in the middle of, they had made deals with some and not with others yet, but they were still working on that. And money was, large amounts of money were going into a savings account to deal with that. And as soon as I informed them that Bill had died, bam, it's all cut off. None of those deals are good anymore. And so now those companies are coming after me for everything. And I don't even know what the deals were that were made with them. And so, I can't say, hey, look, you said this or anything like that. It's just scary. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? So of course, I've got an attorney. You pretty much have to have an attorney anyway. And, and so I'm turning a lot of this over to him, but you know what, you guys, that costs money. And it's like, and he's definitely worth it. But it's like, and yeah, that comes from the estate of my husband. But again, I'm having to use the money that I need for trying to live and trying to like fix my house so that I can live in it, because I can't get around very well. And so my husband did a lot of the things that required good mobility and everything. And so, yeah, just one more expense is just going to kill you. And, but it's necessary, and it's better to hire an attorney than to have to deal with all this yourself, And so, yeah, so it's like, so I'm going to be turning over quite a bit to him this week. And, so that's another thing. And, I would really, a couple of recommendations here before I get to the good mail. One is, before your spouse dies, or before you die, whoever is in charge of the finances, it really is a good idea, even though like I know Bill was protecting me by not having me involved in the finances, because I just was so exhausted from being in charge of my own finances for so long before. So he was protecting me, and he didn't hide anything from me. But it's like, but I didn't know his system. And so I would really recommend that, like every few months or something, you go over bills together. You, like my father had my mom paying the bills for a while. I'm not sure if he still is or not, but for a little while, so that she would know how to do that. And, and just make sure that the person who's not taking care of the finances knows what's going on, where to find things, how you've been filing things, and they may rearrange it. I'm rearranging the way that Bill had it so that it's in a way that makes more sense to me, which might not make sense to anybody else, but it's like you're going to have your own system. But at least it helps if you know what the system was so that you know where to find things and stuff. And the other thing is, it's really, really helpful. And this was good. Bill did this. This was great. Was he made sure that my name is on all of our bank accounts. Actually, there is one that I'm not on, and that's causing some problems. So it's like I don't have access to some of the money that I need to be able to take care of stuff. But again, that wasn't his fault or anything. But my name was on the checking accounts, and that's really, really important so that you can just seamlessly continue to use the money that you're bringing in, that's getting automatically deposited into your accounts and everything. That's like super, super important. So, and the other thing is, it would have helped if I had already had a lawyer and developed a relationship with a lawyer, and that Bill and I had talked with them and stuff, so that, my lawyer is great. I love him. He does a fantastic job, and I know he has a great reputation and everything. But it just would have been easier if we had already set stuff up ahead of time. So that's something that, that 2020 hindsight that I want to pass on to you, because that 2020 hindsight doesn't do me any good. The other thing that we did right was Bill, because he used to be a bank manager. He said, it's really important that you have a good relationship with your bank. And so, he had built a relationship with our bank manager, and I had something of a prior relationship with him, knew each other by name, basically. I hadn't spent much time with him. Bill had spent much more time with him. But, when I called him after Bill died, he has been like so helpful, and he said, if you need advice or something, just give me a call. And like when I needed to get a car, and I was going to pay cash, because I paid from some of the insurance money that I had and from the money that our car insurance paid me for Bill's truck being totaled. So it wasn't like I was looking for a loan or anything, but I just asked him, what advice do you have? And he looked up the truck that I was thinking about buying. He looked up the VIN number. He said, here's the prices that I think you should try to stay between. And he gave me some advice about negotiating that and stuff. And so he was just like really, really helpful. And he's been helpful in other ways too, when I have questions. And some of the questions I've asked a few times, because it's like I'm so fogged over that I can't remember much. And even though I take notes, I have notes, so many notes everywhere, that it's like it's hard to keep track of what all you've got. I've got a couple notebooks full of notes. And he's just been really patient with me. And so that has been just incredibly, incredibly helpful. So, have a lawyer ahead of time and build a relationship with them, doing some of the things that you need to do to prepare. Ask them, what would be good for me to do to prepare in case one of us dies? That would be like super, super helpful to do that. Find out if make sure you have a will. A trust, from what I understand, is even better. We did not have that, and my understanding is that would have made things much more seamless. But talk to your lawyer and find out what would be best. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to talk about good mail, and before I talk about good mail, I want to talk about one company that has been really, really good. And I've talked about them before. And again, I want to give a disclaimer that I'm not getting any kickback. They've not asked me to say anything good about them. They don't even know that I'm saying good things about them. And, actually, I did mention to one agent, I said, you guys have been so good, and I've mentioned you on YouTube. So, yes, I did say that. But I'm not getting any benefits because I'm saying this. I just want you to know this is genuine. State Farm, our insurance company, has been amazing. Absolutely amazing. And there may be other insurance companies that are good too. I don't know. I'm not talking about them because I have no experience with them. And I've heard nightmares about some insurance companies also. But State Farm has just been really, really wonderful. When they send me a letter, like when the investigator sent me a letter, because she needed information from me, she said, I'm so sorry about your loss. I don't even think she said it that way. She said it differently, so it was didn't sound so programmed. And she said, I know that right now is not a good time to talk and I want to give you time. So just whenever you're comfortable, give me a call. And I was like, oh my word, this is so compassionate. And I actually called her back like within a day because you feel more comfortable, you feel safer talking to somebody like that than you do talking to somebody who's making demands. You must do this right now. You must come up with thousands of dollars and pay us right now. And it's like, right, how am I going to do that? So it's like State Farm has just been wonderful. And, things like his accident was a couple hours away. So I couldn't just like run up there to get stuff out of the truck and everything. I mean, there's things that you need to get out, like anything with your address, the keys, checkbook, any of that kind of stuff. And then there may be some things that you want to keep that are sentimental, like, I found his glasses and a few other things. And, so it's like, so you need to do that. Well, I couldn't get up there right away. And they said, you just take your time. And the thing is, I knew they're having to pay for storage. And I know that's not cheap. But they were just so incredibly patient and compassionate. And it's like, oh my word, other companies, if you could be like this, you would get such a much better response from people who have gone through loss than you do. It's the whole thing of, honey attracts more flies than vinegar. And so, yeah, State Farm has been awesome. So, and that's just as an example of how a company can be compassionate. And, they're obviously not going out of business just because they're being compassionate or anything. So, compassion, it doesn't hurt you to be compassionate. It doesn't hurt you to allow people time to grieve and to pull themselves together so that they can deal wisely. And that's part of the thing that I feel with a lot of these companies and creditors and stuff is that they don't want me to be wise. They want me to be vulnerable and feel like, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this right away so that I'll do stupid things. And that just makes me mad. I get really mad whenever somebody wants to try to take advantage of me and not have me be wise. So anyway, so now going on completely, let me take a breath, going on completely to good mail, because there has been, oh my word, I have just been blessed by some of the mail that I've been sent. And so the first thing is cards. And, and I haven't had like a huge number of cards because I think that, now we interact with people on Facebook and stuff like that, which has also been very meaningful. And it's more like in real time. But the cards that people have sent me, some of them with just amazingly heartfelt compassion, stories of things that they remember about Bill. Just I see people's heart in them, and it's just like, it means so much to me. And so those things have just been very comforting. And that was pretty much like what came like at the very beginning. And then some people have written letters and they've shared their hearts with me. They've shared their sorrow with me over Bill's death. They've shared, some people have said that they've felt inspired by me, which is really hard to imagine because I'm such a basket case right now. But it's really encouraging. And, and people have shared lessons that they've learned from what I've shared, which has also been very encouraging because if anything good can come of this, it would just really help. Sorry. So just, really sweet letters. And, and of course people tell me that they're praying for me. And, quite often I can tell from the way that they say it, that they really, truly are, that it's not just something that they're saying. Another kind of mail that I've gotten that has been so cool has been from the junk journal community. There are a number of Facebook groups and other groups of junk journal artists, and I'm fairly new to that. So it's not like I'm like a real established member of these things or anything, but oh my word, they have just reached out so compassionately, and it's just a culture within it. It's a culture of its own, and so the things that I get, a lot of you probably wouldn't understand, but like one person actually sent me a journal that I'm using to write down things about Bill and about Bill's and my relationship. And so that's been really special and really healing. And then others send, like little scraps of lace and other things that I can use in journals. And those things mean so much. They might not mean much to you if you're not a junk journaler, because it probably makes no sense and you're going, what? They send you scraps of paper. But they're really special things that mean a lot to us as junk journalers. I'll just leave it there. They're just really precious. And it means a lot to me that people have sent these little collections to me. And usually with a little note, or sometimes even a letter. But they've just been really, really meaningful and useful. It's like I can use these and they'll remind me of that person caring about me. And so and it makes my journal prettier and more special, because it's like, like everybody with your hearts, your Facebook comments, your junk journal stuff that you send to me and everything, what I feel like is my heart has been ripped out of me, but you all are giving me like these little tiny pieces of your heart. And yeah, my heart's never going to be completely mended, but at least in some ways I think it's going to be whole. Sorry. These are actually good tears because it's like I'm not crying right now over Bill's loss. I'm crying over how wonderful people have been to me, and just how much that means to me. And then another thing that I've gotten a few of his packages. Like one really good friend sent me. She knows me really well, and I know that she prays for me like at least every day, and oftentimes many times during the day, and before this even happened, and since this has happened, I think that she's praying for me even more. But she sent me my favorite tea. She sent me one of my favorite snacks, which is like these candied ginger pieces that, they're great. They not only taste good, they're actually good for me, and they help. They help me to stay awake during my classes. And she sent me something else too. Oh, she sent me a mask, a facial mask, that's just like really comforting. And it's like when you get something like that, it's like when you use it, you feel like that person is hugging you. You feel like they're there taking care of you. Those things that she sent were all things that comfort me and that take care of me, and that just means a lot. And another friend gave me some eye masks because I have trouble sleeping, and those have been just such a blessing. They've been really sweet. And another friend gave me some herbal sleep aid to try out and see if that would work well for me, and it has helped. And then just other things that people do and give. And of course my parents are here just doing so much for me, and my sister is here for a few days and also helping out and everything. And so those aren't packages or mail, but that's just ways that people have helped. And and then like email, some people have sent me just beautiful emails, beautiful heartfelt emails that have just meant so much. People's words, especially when you can print them out or have them in some form that you can keep them, have just been so meaningful. And I'm going to do that with Facebook too. I want to go through, and it'll probably take me a few days of just sitting there going through and printing out the things that people have written that have been really meaningful to me. And that's probably where most of my encouragement has come. And like I said, that's kind of like it's in real time, because I share something, like I shared that I felt like God didn't love me, and it's like I have had so many people sharing over the course of several